With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Tonight, top drivers for the PRL's F3 Series make their way to the United Kingdom to battle it out at Alton Park Circuit to see which teams and which drivers can make their way forward through the point standings with plenty of opportunity here tonight, powered by VCO. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth for tonight's action is David Haynes with our producer Hugo Louise as we get ready to go racing from the UK. David, tonight should be a fun one. It's a fun circuit, and these drivers are ready to see what they can do at this high-speed, high-tempo road course.
The F3 car's all about maintaining speed through the fast corners. It's all about the slipstream, and we've got no chicanes, the fast backstretch, the fastest version of Alton Park Circuit you can get. And that's going to hopefully lead to draft packs, close racing, and drivers are going to have to use their head and their race smarts, not just their raw pace.
Yes, indeed, this will be a race where lots is to keep an eye on throughout the night tonight to see how things play out here at Alton Park. Keep in mind, coming into tonight, we're coming off a race at Sonoma Raceway for our first US-based date on the schedule, but it is the European mixture of things that start to pop up the next few weeks with Alton Park, the Red Bull Ring, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and Zolder, all within that mix of the European-based circuits, with a trip to Oceania in between with Phillip Island, David.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of high-speed, high-slip-streaming, fast corner tracks come up here. And once again, this is a light car with wings, slick tyres, not a lot of torque. So it's all about preserving that speed at the apex of the corners. And here at Alton Park with no chicanes, and the same is going to be true going forward at tracks like Red Bull Ring and Phillip Island.
But there is a discussion point coming in from Sonoma. Remember, there was contact for those who watched along with Connor Wagner with some of the co-frays entering the carousel. That has triggered a 15-point penalty And instead of being the points leader entering today, Wagner enters today 13 points back of David Holland. Rod Quinard rounds out the top 3. Kale Petrie and Steve Chiari all within the top 5. The separation amongst them, along with Turner Schroll in the overall standings, keep in mind close, within about 36 points. 33 should say for the pro side. And don't forget for the AM side, it's been Turner Schroll. That's been very dominant so far, David. His gap 25 points over Richard Swindell's entering today.
Yeah, looking at those AM standings there, Turner Schroll absolutely dominant, as you say, ahead of Swindell's, but then it's pretty close in the mid-pack here. Frankie Arvello, Nick McLaughlin, Ross Cardo, Takeshi Kita, James Holland, Ryan Putchell, Stephen Ridders, and James Carter there. And I mean, look at that right there between 5th and 8th. 1 point for 4 drivers.
All from various different teams and or independents in the case of Ross Cato. Speaking of the teams, meanwhile, hard point by Delta Sport. They've been on a tear. 48 points scored on the season, 3 victories in the pro class. Ace Racing Team and TQ Engineering picking up victories in AM class competition, but TQE and Precision Racing Esports, along with Indiano Sport, are in between them when it comes to the standings. The separation amongst your top 5, 57 points.
Yeah, great to see drivers battling not just for themselves, but also for these points standings. And of course, again, it's not just about who's racing up front, it's about who you're racing shoulder to shoulder with, what little advantage you can get here with how close that is. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, a lot of movement, a lot of potential.
I will say this, with Atomic Racing Pro Town with the rough start, good bounce back. Meanwhile, let's take a look at your format. For those who do not know, the Pro Split's determined based on signups, but also based on the average pace if you want a chance to get a promotion throughout the series. For the AM class, you must have a minimum of 1,000 IR or a minimum as well of a D license at 2.0 or better when it comes to your safety rating. Open setups, maximum fuel 50%, expecting pit stops today. 40 minutes up on the clock, that's 28 laps here today at Alton Park.
We'll see how it happens with that. Alton Park's got a pretty tight, pretty narrow pit lane, quite a challenging pit entry as well, so if the drivers do end up needing it, that is one place that a race could be won or could be lost. Some advantage could be found. You can see the pit entry off to the right-hand side of the drivers just there. You approach at a lot of speed, and it's quite a slow one, as is typical. Some of these British tracks with their narrow and short pit lanes, a slow pit lane speed limit too.
30 minutes to qualify now on the clock. Open qualifying for tonight. Let's take the time to once again remind you of the presenting sponsors for tonight's action for the PRL's F3 Series. Powered by VCO, also known as the Virtual Competition Organization. Tonight's coverage also brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Tonight's coverage also brought to you by RaceLab apps. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Butt Kicker products include incredible immersion and bring realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Tonight's coverage also brought to you by Ninja Trader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting more than 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Drivers underway for qualifying as, so far, the 33 entrants on the grid for tonight starting to get their first laps down. Justin Negretti, the first of those to put the times down. Keep in mind, these drivers, they better be flying around the circuit because, well, it's very cold tonight, David, for the track temperature. It is below 70 degrees Fahrenheit for the drivers, meaning lots of grip with this track temperature.
Yep, in my units I've got it as 19.4 Celsius. That's about as cold as you can go. What it does mean is really quick lap times, a lot of grip once you get the tyres in, and I think the drivers are going to push a couple laps here before they start to really hit their best. And then the other thing in this long and open qualifying session is, can you work with any of your teammates? We talked about that team's championship. Can you work together to try to tow each other around potentially? Can you organize that without tripping up on each other? And what about the other traffic out there? Drivers on outlaps, drivers trying to warm their tires. If you watch them go through Druid's corner, I think that's going to be one of the corners to watch there as well. Undulating double apex, that's something to watch out for in the background there as well.
That was Pavan nearly spinning it into the side of Tyler Campbell, who we've seen set up at the Campbell Soup Aisle, part of the racetrack during our cams throughout the season. Today he's from the race car. You gotta love it. Oh, he's top of the board too.
It's a good thing that particular race car is parked. I'm not sure that headset meets FIA crash standards.
Yeah, very tight squeeze in there. He is the top running pro driver, currently amongst your qualifiers, as mentioned in the 1:16.9s in the early going of the session. And interestingly enough, a smaller grid tonight with the various different events throughout the iRacing landscape. Team Watson Racing Machine, though, had plenty of battles last time out. We'll see how things fare out for the 37 this time.
Good early performance there from Turner Schroll in the AM car going to the top. Very bare margins right there. 0.08 of a second, and I do still expect some of these times to tumble. It's not going to be the first flying lap, or maybe even the second where the tyres are best. As you go on longer, eventually they are going to hit a peak of grip and see where that is. Is it lap 5? Is it lap 10? It might be a little to the earlier side. And there's a few drivers that have been down pit lane to try to get some new tyres in this session.
Did get word from last week, no more promotions from drivers from the M class to pro for this season. After crunching the numbers, they kept Nick McLaughlin in the M class after a rough performance at Sonoma with a couple spins last time out. He's currently 4th for the AM class in qualifying. He had that stellar run at Suzuka to put him in the spotlight. Now, looking for main focusing on one thing, the AM title, as he's one of the drivers with the webcam view for your action tonight as well. See him trying to stay nice and focused. Remember, he ended up having some maple syrup the last time we seen him on the podium.
Did he have to dip into the strategic reserves for that one, I wonder? But one thing I've noticed so far on this lap, that you want to call it turn 2, the track map doesn't. It's cascades. The track limits on the exit there can be pretty brutal. You've got to keep the car within bounds on a qualifying lap. Anything that's deemed as an iRacing off track, anything that's deemed as an incident point would invalidate that qualifying lap. So you've got to be precise, you've got to be quick, but overstepping the boundary, more punishing in qualifying than it sometimes is in the race.
And that's the thing with the layout here with the no chicanes. The run through Britain's no chicane there. You have the run up to Knickerbock. No chicanes. You also have the spin from Nick McLaughlin. And he knows that was not the greatest of exits there.
Having a little cough at the end there. I think he did choke on that particular lap.
And looking like he's trying to regather himself up there.
That's the elevation change at this circuit though, isn't it, Justin? The track drops away right on the exit. You feel like you judged it just right, and then you go past the apex, track drops away, car gets light, you lose that grip, you push wide, and you find that there's nothing in the way of paved runoff around here. There's just some very slippery British grass.
Looking on board, this is Connor Wagner. And a big night potentially with the attendance we were just discussing a bit. The new points leader coming into tonight in David Holland, not at the facility currently. So this is a chance, keep in mind, for Wagner to be able to have a strong run and potentially knock out what could be a potential drop with the points penalty if he performs well. Remember, there is one drop in the points throughout this season.
Connor Wagner with some purple sectors so far in this one. I've got 6 or 7, micro sectors. He was purple in 2 and 3, and that's enough to send him to the top of the board there, even though he didn't go personal best in some of the later ones.
Dave Giori quietly has been having a very solid season meanwhile, currently in the 117.1s. Trying to keep a clean line, and we were just starting to discuss the various different lines. Expecting draft to be huge here, as discussed off the top. especially with the no chicanes here today. There's at least 2 or 3, if not 4 different drafting sections drivers may be able to utilize today.
I mean, anytime the steering wheel is straight and you're at 100% throttle in these cars, you're slipstreaming a little bit. So what they are is relatively draggy, very light, and powered by an atmospheric 4-cylinder engine. So they get up to, say, 200 kilometers an hour very easy, and then don't push past that with massive amounts of turbocharged horsepower or anything, because they're devoid of that.
The Cube Engineering machine has been on the pace in terms of keeping things clean, which has been the big thing, but is looking for a major shoot up in the points potentially today. We'll see how things play out. Currently 5th in the Pro class. This time around, last time did not count. This time, no improvement, elects to stop the sign. And that's the major thing noticing here too. Drivers are electing to go very quick. Run a couple laps, tow the car. Run a couple laps, tow the car. A little bit more quicker compared to what we seen last time out, where drivers went up to 3 laps on runs.
Yeah, I wonder exactly how that is. A lot of fast corners ought to warm up the tyres pretty quickly. And then maybe drivers then also trying to look for where they can exit the pit lane and get some more clean air once again. Great onboard view for Almanar here. This turn 7 Knickerbrook corner here. Look at them try to keep it flat out. Struggle to do so in 6th gear. That's top gear for these cars. So with slipstream side by side, that could be a crunch zone all by themselves in qualifying here. It looks like you can keep it pretty well flat out if you just pick the right line. And then one thing I've noticed, everyone really struggling with keeping the car pointed straight on the exit of these corners here. Bit of wheel work, bit of counter steer. That's what everyone has to do to manage the traction and manage the drive off that final corner and try to put in a good lap. No improvement there for Almanar.
Needs to pick up half a second to improve in that mark. 12th on the season's points, or in the season's points, should say, so far for the 0-2. And that's the major thing here. Keep in mind, these drivers with the track position going to be critical in the AM class in particular. Turner Schroll has a 3-car buffer over the next best driver in AM and Ryan Puchdell. As big crash as several drivers try and dodge, parts were flying down the straightaway there.
Seen a few F3 cars lose some pieces here, and the drivers are pushing to that limit. There are pretty big consequences around here when you do catch the grass, and these are a fragile car.
That was Kevin Sandiego who went around down the middle of the straightaway, by the way. But able to keep out of trouble, though. As more times continue to get rolling, Michael Blaze, we haven't seen too much of the Canadian this season, has also been amongst those, trying to keep it nice and tidy throughout the runs. Currently 14th overall. Check that 16th as drivers bump them down to 7th in AM, make it 8th in AM class. You see how pristine this racetrack can look, David.
Yeah, and a handful of green sectors so far for Michael Blaze as well, so he'll be up on the delta that he can see in the dash that we can't, and he'll be praying for the rest of the track, the rest of the way round to be clear. A couple cars get out of his way. He's hoping that everyone else in front of him is either pushing or aware that he's coming. And how about that final corner? You know, it just comes down to that final braking zone, the turn in, and the traction off the corner. No counter steer there. It looked very precise and measured. He's trying to bank this lap time, look for an improvement, and he comes up just short.
Couple 100 short, to be precise, by about 6 100ths. Not able to pick up the tempo, approaching halfway to the qualifying session already.
Chablis, as though he is flying purple through Sector 1, purple through Sector 2, looking to smash some records in the 14.
To follow on with the 99, there is Chablis you're referring to, and for Chablis, it's been not too shabby when it comes to the pro standings for him. So far, showed good pace. Chablis looking to charge up, though. The tough thing is, he's had 2 DNFs on the season, despite having top 10 pace throughout the campaign.
Lost out through that turn 7, though, by about a 10th or 2, so we'll see if he keeps bringing this one home or he just tries to set up for another lap. I dare tell you that kind of looked like he was setting up to try to attempt another lap through the final corner.
Invalidated lap, that's why.
Did that happen at Cascades? Did that happen at 7? Somewhere else that we missed?
We'll have to see. Either way, the lap time did not count. He did clip some grass in a couple different sections. But for Chablis, you're right in terms of that speed. The question is, can he do it on this time around after having the invalidated lap in the warm-up lap just prior to that being the minute and 30 seconds?
I think those key places where you are going to tag the grass, it's Cascades in sort of what you'd consider the first sector of the lap, and then it's the next corner we're coming up to. You miss that chicane, you're going flat out, downhill, we don't take the chicane here, and you've just got to commit and throw it in, and the car looks a little unsteady, and I suspect it's that exit curb. It could be tripping people up as they try to keep the throttle glued in 6th gear through there, but it's just a little too quick maybe.
Possibly, and you see how much scraping comes into play. That doesn't really impact the car, but it's just how much these cars have to be set up to be close to the grass, and one of the first signs of being close, and those scrapes along the edge of the front of the car's nose. 1:16.9, good enough for a top 5 overall, 4th in Pro.
And only one green sector for him on that lap, so if he strings together all of his bests, there's a lot more. I suspect the gap between his optimal lap and the lap he just completed is still pretty big.
Tyler Campbell, meanwhile, 2nd in Pro still, needs to pick up 3/10 meanwhile. Team Watson Racing Machine getting a bit of draft from in front from Almanar. Just a little bit, though. Campbell needing to pick up about 0.3 of a second to get up to the pole time.
Backed off, set it up, squared it on the exit. Looking to try another attempt, and you can see the time. All of it, second lost in the final sector, just trying to reset, knowing this time's not going to be better, but I'm about to go on to another flying lap. Make sure I get the braking right and smooth, no lockups into the final corner. Focus on the exit rather than the entry. When you're trying to set lap time in this car, you've really got to focus on that apex speed. You've got so much grip if you just throw the car into the corners. But when you're going to start a new lap, you focus on that exit speed, and you try not to focus on the car that's off Oliver Hartley.
Hartley with a hard lick there, but it's out of the way of the lap. Still keeping an eye on Campbell. About halfway through this lap, currently in one of the long straightaways, the long drafting sections. See if there's a pickup on the tempo. Quick right-hander. Currently going purple, in fact, is Tyler Campbell with this draft. This is perfect timing. Justin Negrete, meanwhile, you see, trying to close out a lap as well.
Yep, he's gone fastest of anyone through the first sector. It's just a 10-second sector. It's really how much speed did you carry through turn number 1, and then he's matching his best all the way so far here. We'll see again, looking a pretty committed lap, but look at the respect he gave to that curb on the exit to turn 7, Nickerbrook. He's just trying to bring this lap home.
Is it going purple for Justin Negrete? Can he get it up there? He has been quick throughout some of the qualifying, but it has been an issue in the long term for the track position after some of the starts for the 66 this season. Best time so far last time by a 1:16.8. Invalidated lap time this time. He clipped the grass in what could have been a purple.
Again, did we see precisely where that happened? Was it earlier on the lap? Maybe it was technically turn 3, Cascades. I think that's one of those ones where it's not even enough to keep your left side tyres on the pavement. You've got to keep all 4 of them on there. It seems very strict. That corner worker a bit grumpy.
Currently following along with Giori meanwhile. This is the run up out of Lodge Corner up to the Deer Leap. We're heading to Old Hall Corner. See a bit of a swerve up in front from the number 7. Rather 43, Brian Lowe. Bit of a grass pickup for Giori as that sends him off towards the side of the track and back to the pit lane, currently 9th overall.
This is a morning session, so the sun's getting a little higher in the sky. Track very slowly starting to heat up. It's inched up a degree, half a degree, but there's a chance that towards the end the sun gets just a little bit higher still, and it goes away from the drivers. The track gets a bit slicker, the track gets a bit hotter, but I'm still seeing personal bests and improvements from almost everyone out in the field. So as the drivers get more accustomed, they're still finding more speed. There's still life in this track for someone to take away that pole position. And Caleb Patry has found a purple.
My Patry is in 14th, still followed on with Almanar. Worth noting that Kevin Santana in the 666 is in the field tonight for his first start as a pro driver after missing Sonoma.
He's got a slipstream off his teammate, maybe?
Possibly. Will this work for Patry? 1:16.9. That puts him up inside the top 8. He did pick up some slips. Go ahead.
Did I correctly see, was there another team car there that we saw just immediately behind him? No?
But there was James Carter there in range on the final straightaway. That might have fed some draft there, who was slowing down a bit. But we're looking back at the 66 here. Justin Negrete looking pretty strong again. What will this time be? 1:17.1 last time. This time by back around the same ballpark. Down to the final 10 minutes on the board here. 12:05. As we look to see how the rest of this field shakes on up here at this point. PRL competition here tonight. It's been a stellar season, we'll say here. First time in the booth for this season, David. We talked a lot about the expectations here tonight, but a lot of these drivers looking very solid at the time. Shabley within 6/1000ths or so of Turner Schroll now as he picks up a drafting friend, or at least the 66 does. That's how we go back to Almanar.
It's very, very, very fine margins, isn't it? I mean, 1 second covers the top 17. We've seen drivers improve, but improve by 200ths and just all trying to chip away the last little bits of it. I think Connor Wagner was on a lap that should have improved him and might have made a mistake.
He has towed the car. This is off circuit. Nick McLaughlin, after having a super run at Suzuka, is not having a super fun time again tonight, David. He's got experience more so in sports cars when it comes to the platform. But tonight, just 12th best in AM class after starting off solid in qualifying. He hasn't been able to get out of the 1:17.3s. And continues to spin the car out.
I think his camera might be a little bit ahead of ours there. You saw him get agitated, cross those arms over, crossed in the face too before we quite lost the car. But that's the story of everyone, you know. You're just a little bit up, looking to really make sure you maximize that final corner. And it's not easy. It's super slippery on the exit there, by all accounts, from that elevation change, which is a dominant feature a lot of places around here. That lap, I think, ain't gonna count.
And the interesting thing when it comes to him tonight, a bit of a paint scheme change. He has added a new decal to the rear wing as well. New driver, please be patient. That's in regards to this being his second race in the pro class.
I was racing against a car at Carolina Motorsports Park the other weekend that had big letters on the back that said 116 horsepower, slow. I saw that a couple times.
I was about to say. And here's a look at the photo specifically. You see that text right there. One of the top drivers at AM class before getting the promotion for Sonoma. Did not have a good debut though that night.
Once you're close enough to read the underside of the rear wing, though, you may be in a little bit too close already.
Maybe. Or you might be seeing it flying in front of you after trouble. Kevin
Yeah, well, you'd be extra embarrassed if that's what you see passing you.
Maybe. Kevin San Diego, meanwhile, continues to be top 5 on the board. 1:16.8. Look at the difference, though, between him and Justin Negrete within 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, and then nothing back to Turner Stroll and Max Shabley either. You've got genuinely 1/100th of a second something for 4 drivers. Now, I've heard that it's 1/10.5 of a second for you to blink. So anytime you're talking about within 1/10 of a second, it is scientifically accurate to call it less than a blink of an eye.
And those margins, with that being razor thin, just showcases the need of preparation, but also making sure on top of that, your car is up to snuff to be able to break away from those razor thin margins. If Kevin Sandiego's able to put up a solid time here, he did pick up some draft from James Carter. 1:17.4, no improvement this time. Again for the 88, down to the final 5 minutes or so in this session. So far, the 33 entry, it's separated in general by, throughout the pack should say, by about 3 seconds. But as mentioned, the top 20 within about a second. Some drivers making some stops like Ryan Puchdale, others like Steve Fiore not stopping, because since the last time we checked in with the 56, Fiore has plummeted down the board.
It's there in 11th overall, no personal bests this lap. Hoping to find a slipstream, I'm sure. Whether he's going to get it, whether you time it right, whether it helps you, an entirely different thing.
Improved by 1/1000th of a second, David. That's not enough. By the way, checking in Mr. Sneaky, who is known for charging the pack, Takeshi Kita invalidating the lap right there. So far, 12th in the AM class, 20th overall. He's been known as the driver who can cut through the pack and be inside the top 10 at the very end overall. Compare that to Richard Swindell, second in AM class. The Indy Autosport machine needing to pick up some tempo. 8th in this class, 16th overall, between Rodriguez and Tebben.
Wow. Those lap times oh so close again. Looks like there might have been a bit missing through the final sector. It's so bumpy in the braking zone here. You see the car bounces, and you got to brake and turn in, and then the elevation gets you again as it drops away on the exit and the rear wants to break loose.
With the track temperature continuing to kick up, we may have seen some of the quick times. Connor Wagner is coming back on the racetrack. Worth noting, it has been on track, trying to improve the bumper. Has been able to. Justin Negretti trying to close back into Kevin Sandiego. To move up a spot, he needs 1,000. Doesn't get it? No. In fact, his time that time would have put him at the very end of the top 10 just about.
I still see some, personal best sectors out here, there, and not just in the straight lines with the slipstream. So I think if someone had the tyres in the right window, picked up a slipstream and executed a tidy lap, there's still time to be found. I mean, look at that, just missing out on an improvement by 100th of a second. That's the kind of thing that keeps you out on track going, no, if I just got that corner better, or just this better, or just managed to lock into a slipstream, I can improve. Everyone still thinks they can improve, and that's why there's still 20-something cars out there.
You know the saying, right? When it comes to race car drivers, who always try to find that extra bit of speed as much as possible. To find every missed turn, every unturned stone, to make sure you don't leave anything on the table. Checking in with Joey Tebben. And that was our check-in with Joey Tebben as he spins it out. It's not been a good start for the season, for Joey.
Gave that a red hot go for the first sector though. Just sort of, these are cars that are quite low to the ground obviously, and they don't react well to bumps. They don't react well to the curbs. That's why you see the drivers most normally trying to stay over them. Curbs that you might get away with hitting in a GT3 car, curbs that you'd absolutely hit in an Australian supercar. But an F3 car doesn't like that kind of thing, and that's where the elevation, the bumps, and some of the sharper curves become a real challenge for the circuit, which in places does feel very narrow as well.
Yeah, this racetrack about 2, maybe 2.5 lanes wide in most circumstances. That's not a lot of space, obviously, to move around, but it also means, in turn, you have to think, David, you have to be smart on where you actually send it up the corners. There were some charts sent out for turn 7 in particular to be able to keep an eye on where your car's positioned to avoid potential carnage.
With the best of intentions, I think when you go racing, carnage is always a possibility. No matter your intentions to keep it clean, your intentions also to go racing.
Meanwhile, we're following on with Fernando Rodriguez, 15th overall, 7th in the M class, coming to the final corners. This likely coming up to the final time around, down to the final 15 or so seconds coming up in qualifying. 1:17.6, no improvement there once again. Kevin Sandiego continues to find ways with the damage model. Tyler Campbell, meanwhile, trying to find a way to close out this run with one major flyer needing to pick up 3/10 to get up to Wagner. Wagner has already finished the session.
He's got a very, very clear track in the final sector here so far. We've seen there be a lot of traffic there on some of the earlier laps and earlier in the session, so what can you do at the end?
We're about to find out for Campbell. Been close towards some of the off tracks, and he elects to go into the pit lane. May have picked up one, so no improvement for Campbell. Only 5 drivers are left on the circuit. Connor Heffernan, who is currently in 24th. You also have Tebben still on the circuit. Max Shabley, Cale Petrie, also Peter Newhook. Heffernan looking to complete this run, looking to improve it. 1:17.4. That does bump him up to about 22nd overall. Max Shabley, meanwhile, has bumped himself up to the top 5 with that run.
Joey Tebben's going to be pretty angry because he went personal best in 3 sectors on his final lap and then didn't complete it, didn't manage to put it to the board. So the difference between his qualifying lap and what he was capable of, big gulf there.
Yeah, Petrie also putting in time to end it, but not gaining a position. That rounds out qualifying from Alton Park Circuit here on iRacing. And as the drivers make their final adjustments, we're just moments away from your starting grid for the Precision Racing League's Formula 3 Series, powered by VCO here on RaceSpot and VCO. Let's see how they'll start here tonight. Connor Wagner's on the pole once more this season. He'll start alongside Tyler Campbell. Lauren starts in 3rd today with Max Shabley in the 4th spot, with Cale Petrie and Justin Negretti the top 6. Rounding out the top 7 with all pro drivers in that regard, Kevin Sandiego. Then it's Turner Schroll in 8th. The former M driver, now pro competitor Kevin Santana starts in 9th. Ryan Punchdell, 2nd in M class, 10th overall. Steve Giori starts 11th alongside Frankie Arvello, 3rd in the M class tonight. The rest of the field are M competitors. John Almanar starts in 13th with Steven Ritters, Fernando Rodriguez, Richard Swindells. Then it's Joseph Tebben and Brad Miller, your top 18. Behind them, Nick McLaughlin, continuing to try and bounce back after his stellar run at Suzuka, but not stellar run at Sonoma. Michael Blaze starts 20th. Takeshi Kita, Connor Heffernan, James Carter, and Brian Lowe, the top 24. A newcomer for tonight, Floyd Kerr starts in 25th. Guillaume Pavin starting in 26th position, followed by Blake Seedy, Peter Newhook, James Holland, Oliver Hartley, Ross Cato, and then the Vargases, Lucio and Manuel Vargas. When it comes to Manuel Vargas, no entry in terms of the track. He has left the facility, meaning 32 have taken times and will be racing here tonight. Last adjustments coming into play, David. Quick final thoughts before the rest of the drivers jump on the circuit.
The tyre wear and the strategy could be of interest here because it is going to be a pretty long race. We saw drivers trying to get off their tyres after 4 or 5 laps in qualifying. They're going to have to do a lot more in the race. They could get slippery as the stints go on.
Waiting for the final couple competitors before we get rolling. Lucio Vargas and Connor Wagner, those two with less than 30 seconds in the gridding procedure. Wagner looking to win a 3rd race of the campaign. Others looking to try and break through and break the hard point by Delta Sport for gain of victories throughout the season. All drivers have made their way to the starting grid. It's time to go racing from Alton Park Circuit. The engines are revving, the drivers are ready. Are you ready? As the green lights go out, we're underway from Alton Park. And a clean launch for your front runners as they go 2 by 2 off into the first corners. Several slide off to the grass, several near contact. Turner Schroll off the track. The rest of the competitors checking up for Schroll, nearly stack it up. One car does stack it up. 3 more are off the circuit, including Brad Miller, and a couple more already to the pit lane.
Yeah, Turner Schroll losing a lot and a couple cars ending up in the wall. Cold tires are so difficult on this car. You've got to be careful getting those pressures up. Everyone was struggling through turn 1, and that'll continue on this lap.
Once those off circuit as well, Connor Heffernan looking towards the heart of the pack. You see some of the major leaps and some of the major bounds going on. Nick McLaughlin already to 9th in the M class with a crazy start, right next to Turner Schroll. Up at the very front, though, Wagner, Campbell, and Lurk all staying close, all while Chablis gets passed along the left side by Patry. When on board, this is Justin Negretti trying to figure out a way around in the 66 as well. A wild first lap, to say the very least. Already 3 cars out of the race.
A lot of moves happening in the middle of the pack, and they are not stretching out whatsoever at the front here. That slipstream keeping them together, keeping the cars close.
Oh, and the Hornet's Nest getting crazy again. Several of the M drivers coming out of the grass, causing 2 by 2 amongst them. Now contact. 1 car to the right side of the racetrack into the wall. That is Steven Ritters with this huge slam. Ritters now is out of the race too.
Damage to every single corner of that car there in the middle of the field. 1 car might get checked up, and it creates a huge problem with another big field just steaming up behind, getting checked up, and drivers getting anxious at how they can get around. A couple moves starting to happen a little higher up the field though. Patry past Chablis and Santana. Steve Gaori up some spots there as well.
Gaori up 3 spots specifically in the midst of the craziness. Lloyd Kerr keeping an eye on. Trying to move on forward. Eye forward for one of the A machines. Takeshi Kita up to 9th in M. 16th overall with a pass on Almanar. As this is not over yet, Pavan is also in the midst, trying to pass along. Bit of a lift from Almanar. The Canadian zipping on by. Joey Tebben, next driver behind.
This is what I've seen so far. They get side by side to Knickerbrook, and only 1 driver can win in that situation, and the driver who has to back out loses all their momentum up the hill and towards Druids Corner, and the cars behind then look to steamroll, and a couple of cars might get past. And if the defending driver gets their elbows out, that's where some of the contact came from on lap 1 and earlier.
Now things starting to settle in. Already a couple laps in, as you see in the corner. 40 minutes up on the clock if necessary as well. So have to keep that in mind as the action progresses throughout the evening. You're expecting the pit stop throughout this run, or nearly around the halfway. Speaking of drivers, middle of the racetrack, more trouble. That's the 43, Brian Lowe in the middle of the circuit. Really tough spot to be, tough to spin around, and the banks to the side of the circuit even make it difficult to loop yourself around and rejoin. Word about the slipstream though, as you watch your 2 leading cars, Connor Wagner and Tyler Campbell. High speed trap for Connor Wagner, who's led all race so far, 241 kilometers an hour. Meanwhile, Campbell in the slipstream behind him, 248 through the speed trap. That slipstream can obviously be worth as much as 7 kilometers an hour, 4 to 5 miles an hour. Here's a look at what happened to Lowe, by the way, as 1 car gives him a welcome, a second forced off into the gravel trap. Not a great
Campbell
place.
Exploiting some of those track limits that you couldn't get away with in qualifying. That'd be no lap time in qualifying, but in the race, other side of the curb, as long as you keep the car pointing the right way, you're still in it. Top 3 breakaway.
Absolutely. Right now, separation between them about 1.5, 1.6 seconds. One of the best starts of the season for Campbell. who had to fight hard to hold on to the top 6 and had a drag race last time out of the stripe. The next grouping, Patrice, Chablis, Negretti for reference on the pylon, your top 6 all-pro drivers currently.
Make or break little time here up the front because it's out to almost 9/10 first to second. Connor Wagner will be desperate to break that slipstream, I would think.
This is what happened at the start here, David, and huge hit for San Diego. He was amongst the first of them to be off the circuit. By the way, Negretti passing by Chablis. That lost them time to Patrice, but that moves the 66 up to 5th position, a race high.
Yeah, great little battle against some of the pro guys right here inside of the top 10, and they've got the AM battle of Puchtel and Arvello right in behind them here as well. And it's always so interesting when you've got these different divisions but in identical machinery. You always look to see how high can some of the AM drivers perform, how high can they punch above their weight, and I think it's a good race so far from Puchtel and Arvello. And critically, they've broken away from the next group of AMs in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which is Rodriguez, Stroll, and Blaze all together.
That's a critical point to mention because you see some of the AM leaders in the backdrop of this respective pack. That taking advantage of the major mistake. Major slipstream, meanwhile. Battle for 5th overall. Chablis makes it work. Chablis makes it stick along the outside of the groove.
So we're talking about how powerful that slipstream is. If you can be consistent, you don't necessarily need to be that fast because consistency will keep you in the slipstream of a quick guy in front of you. That's got to be the strategy and the mindset from Puchtel and Arvello. Again, just behind this battle in orange and the green car.
They do have Kevin Santana also helping beat that car in the middle of it. That helps now close that 1 second gap. There is a look at Santana. Remember, started off the season as an AM driver, a little bit of a slide from the 666.
I think everyone's sliding. Justin, the track still just heating up in the morning sun up to 21 Celsius. They're almost gonna breach the 80 Fahrenheit there at some point. But then also, the longer they go, the more they slide, and the tires do start to get away from you on these cars. Big lock up too.
Now, smoke coming up from Negretti,
I think, yeah.
Yes, that is correct. But you are right in terms of how the AM lead is breaking up. Puchtel, if anything, is using Santana to break away from the Indy Autosport machine in the backdrop. As well as Steve Giori here.
Look at the angle of everyone through that turn 7 there. I don't think in these conditions or with the slipstream they're holding it flat. It's all about give it a little breathe, hope to turn it in at the right time, and try to manage the slide. There is quite a bit of grip to be found from these tyres with a bit of slip angle, but you've got to manage it off the track.
That's the AM leader just going off the track. Frankie Arvello side by side for the AM lead just behind Santana. There is a look at it there. Arvello not able to take advantage. Puchtel, who nearly broke the draft of the 280, is now vulnerable for this race lead for the M class.
Those bumps through Druids as well. Car just slides out a little bit wide, one tire into the grass, and then you're off for a little bit of an adventure, and you've got to try to manage your pace and keep your car pointing forward and how you rejoin from there. That break of the toe, I think, makes them really, really vulnerable now.
Extremely. It's still now a couple seconds or so back to the next M grouping. But it's still Frankie Arvello with a great chance to score points. Puchtel with a great chance to score points. That mistake from Charter Stroll from the start for Ace Racing Team is exactly what these drivers in this battle may have been looking for, David, for a chance to take over the championship momentum.
Arvello just not as confident at turn 7 though, let off a little bit more speed. But maybe more confident through this part here where he saw Puchtel make the mistake in front of him. Ooh, is this tactical?
That is an intriguing play. Letting by the pro driver, that loses him time, but how would this work tactically is the main thing.
You let the pro guy go ahead and try to pass the AM, and then you hope to just follow the lines in the slipstream of the pro guy.
That's going to be the interesting thing. Will they be close enough to take advantage of a potential pass is the main question mark, too. That one lift 2 just gave Rodriguez the slipstream, possibly in the next lap or so to the 280.
Yeah, last lap was good for Fernando Rodriguez. Mid 117s. Absolutely matching what the AM guys in front were doing.
See how tightly packed this respective pack is currently. Again, this is the 8th to 10th place official cars. Behind them, a little argy-barginess. Blaze not backing down on the rev limiter to Turner Schroll, and he wrecks right in front of Turner Schroll. His teammate slams into him and Floyd Kerr. Wing damage for Turner Schroll. 2 to 3 cars involved in a big collision. Takeshi Kini and several others scatter. One more slides up on the side. Pavin upside down into the grass and upside down and destroyed.
It all starts with trying to go too wide. Their car around the outside slid, and everyone else coming at a great rate of knots into that scene caused just a chaotic effect.
Massive, massive, massive damage for Turner Schroll in the midst of that. Side pods, panels, monocoque all flying about, wing damage also for Floyd Kerr. No front wing end plates and a crinkled nose as well. This has gone to absolute disaster for Ace Racing Team tonight. And there's the replay. My gosh.
Just a bit of a lack of awareness from Blaze there. A big speed difference too, and for Potvin, cartwheels and cartwheels.
End of the race for both of them as a result. My goodness, and well, the AM lead just took an intriguing turn with Butchdo and Arvello. Now it's potentially a possibility for it to be a drop round for Turner Schroll, who had been dominating for much of the season before that mark. You see how bad the damage is.
The rear engine cover is flapping about as well.
Exactly.
Rear wing not in line either.
There's no faster pair either available. Floyd Kerr, his teammate, already coming on in. This is a disastrous round at this point for Turner Schroll.
I'm almost hypnotized by the flapping of that engine cover as he goes around. It's not falling off, but it's not helping him. That rear wing damage, no rear grip.
He's trying to finish this out, give him credit. But I think at this point, Turner Schroll might have to come into the pit lane. It's not mandatory, but it's not going to be helpful when you have that aero loss. The wheel is bobbling like crazy to hold on, and here comes the next pack. Hartley, James Holland, Ross Cato.
I don't think he's going to have great straight line speed to go with his lack of downforce as well.
Of note, Nick McLaughlin has just had an incident as well, so there's a spot coming up for some of these drivers. There is McLaughlin, just seen him now, and leaving the car. McLaughlin, significant wing damage as well, also broke the tire. Same corners these drivers were just in. Started off as a strong beginning of the year, David, has turned into disaster the past 2 rounds with the spins.
Grass is just entirely unforgiving around here, isn't it? A couple corners where it's catching the drivers out at turn 1. If you go too wide through the Cascades, and also it's through Druids in the final corner there too. Highest placed battle we got going on right now, because they're spread out first, second and third just a little bit.
Max Chablis trying to find a way to keep up with Petrie. Petrie in a good spot overall. Not so much of a good send from Chablis, locking up the right front tire. battle for the AM class lead is up for grabs. Meanwhile, a spin behind from the third car in Rodriguez. Arvello inside, Punchto outside. Heading towards halfway, near contact. Punchto has to cut the curbing. There goes Turner Schroll to the pit lane to give a scare.
Super close, and these guys are lucky to have gotten away with that.
Apologies over the radio. That was near disaster for all three of them again.
Still a long way to go in this race. I'd be thinking about maybe taking a little bit more risk. It is for the AM lead, but they've now got oodles of time backwards to now Takeshi Kita, who's the third place in AM.
Oh, and they're not listening to that advice. Punchto is listening to the advice given to drivers about the spacing, though. Lex DeLift, the Florida Club driver, gives the spot up to the Indy Auto Sport competitor for the class lead. 7 seconds is that buffer plus, as now they have also Turner Schroll keeping them at bay here, albeit a lap down after 31 seconds of repairs. Here's the look on board for the 93.
A lot of instability of the rear at the turn in there. So the car points immediately, and he's trying to manage the slide all the way through it. It doesn't take a lot of hand over hand to make this F3 car turn.
Especially with the aero wash that can come in when you're falling tire to tire in some cases. But also the tire wear. As there goes Arvello! Arvello spins it from the race lead for the M class. Punchtail to the point.
He's not stuck on the curb, is he? He's waiting for a gap, surely. These cars can get beached on a curb. He's not spinning the wheels. He's waiting. Now he's spinning the wheels, and it's not going anywhere.
No.
He is beached on the curb, stranded.
Out. There goes the tow for the Indy Auto Sport machine. Disaster for the 280. And that brings that point you were just making right back into the focal point.
Oh, that's got to be so frustrating. Car on damage, but like a turtle on its shell. He just had no grip, couldn't get himself righted, couldn't get going.
Meanwhile, this is a battle for position. We're down to 19 cars running, by the way. That's how big the attrition has been today. Blake Ziti trying to move up and hold on. Lucio Vargas, who started 32nd, is taking advantage of all this to say, let's get a top 10 today. It's been that type of a race.
Big slipstream down towards the hairpin here, then that's a slow corner, a little bit banked. Got to be careful with the exit, as we've learned. You can spin up these rear tyres. Now they've done laps and laps of work. 14th lap now for these guys. But then this is the longest straight on the circuit. Peak speeds after going over the hill, down the hill. This is where you get into 60 and you start revving it all the way to the top, and the slipstream becomes worth a lot.
Will Vargas have the chance to be able to get the full slipstream? There's Richard Swindell's up the road as well in this fight, potentially. Vargas not close enough for the lunges yet, but maybe in the next couple laps here. Rhythm continues the way it's going for the 7:10. Last time by a 1:18.3. Tenth of a second gained on the 50, who was amongst those checking up for one of the spins in the middle of the circuit before.
Vargas has got the faster lap so far in this race of this kind of group of three. You're seeing Swindell's just start to get away from him when it comes to City and Vargas at this point. Vargas has got one lap pace. Racecraft, though, is what needs to shine when the slipstream is so strong.
This is the main section, and there is a bit of a push possibly coming up for a swap. Will there be any leeway given from Blake? Looking like he's thinking about it. Lucio Vargas thinks better of the send. Not close enough to go for the lunge to the corner that time. And that's the give and take we're starting to see from some of the drivers throughout this one, especially since we're already coming up to 17 laps complete this time around for most drivers.
And Kevin Santana pitting now from where he was at the halfway point of this race.
Was about to mention that too. Pit window is open as well. 5 seconds to stop, fuel only expected, and major leaping in for Blake Ziti. There is the pit signal coming in. Did he get to the speed limit?
And the sign is accurate. It is 50 kilometers an hour, 30 miles an hour, and strictly enforced. So now he's being held. He's going. I think he might have just gotten away with that one.
Might have just, absolutely. 31 miles per hour, by the way. It's
sign says 30.
It's about the same. 30.5?
So you got to go slower of the two, or are you allowed the faster of the two when the sign says 30 miles an hour, 50 kilometers an hour?
Well, at some tracks, remember, on the platform, there is a little bit of leeway for the first portion of the segment, but not usually on the road courses where you do have a buffer before you get to the first timing segment on the ovals. Meanwhile, Petrie, Chablis, Negrete all grouped together, 4th through 6th now. 10 seconds back of the leader. These three, in some combination or another, have stayed close to each other, looking like they may try and stretch it as far as they can on this tank.
It's a car that is pretty affected by the weight of fuel in it because it is so otherwise nimble and so light. Right.
Vargas has gone in. Almanar has also gone in. 4.5 seconds of fuel, though, for Vargas, interestingly enough, is the quickest stop out of the whole field so far. By the way, the shuffle behind Rodriguez, who after his slide came in for the pit stop. Ziti had an 8-second stop, though. Vargas coming out right behind him. Right behind Cato, should say. And in front of Rodriguez and Ziti.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that's worked pretty well. Set for now being caught up behind a car that hasn't pitted yet. And I'm seeing many more cars thinking about coming to pit lane now. So it either gets past shortly or the car in front pits for him.
Kevin Santana's had a crash. Max Chablis, Justin Negrete, Ryan Punchtel all coming into the pit lane this time, meanwhile. So pit windows for some scheduled, others via the tow truck. As off and away goes Chablis by a sizable margin over Negrete, in fact. Oh, contact! A slide! A crash! It's Rodriguez with Ziti! Both of them hard into the tires!
They're having a great battle. I've had their pit stops, and what has happened now, that's the Druids corner. So after Mickey Brook, up the hill, double apex, bumpy right-hander, narrows on the exit there. The walls get closer. They're caught up behind that car that hadn't pitted yet, and then they get caught up in each other.
That was Ross Cato they bumped into. Here's a look one more time. Just bad timing. Both of them, significant damage. Race leaders are in, by the way. Connor Wagner, Tyler Campbell, Leo Lyric, and Cale Petrie all ducking in. Wagner already done. Campbell taking a bit more fuel. The 7 taking the least amount of fuel. The top 3 at 4.4 seconds in the box.
Yeah, some really, really quick stops. Not needing to take on much fuel. By all accounts it looks like, but everyone bar Ross Cato now through the lane, so everyone having made their stops.
Of note, Joey Tevin had a lengthy stop after nearly crashing into the garage doors for the paddock. He did avoid the bricks, though. Joey Tevin is still running after a pit stop. Looking at Chablis on track. Chablis with that strong service. has built up a good buffer by about a second or so over Petrie to be able to jump up to 4th. And you've liked his pace all day, it seems, David.
Yeah, I think I have, just looking at the numbers, and I think he can catch for another spot there.
It's been crazy how big the attrition's been. This is the battle for 4th and AM class. Here's the thing. This is 11th overall on the racetrack. Joey Tebben losing the spot to Vargas. We're down to a grand total of 16 runners because Swindells has now just had to park it. We were expecting
that huge slipstream keeps them close, and then it's into a funnel of danger at Knickerbrook. That's not a braking zone, but you can't go flat out too wide there. It's this sort of wishy-washy in between. Well, we can't safely go too wide flat out, but we also, can't outbrake the guy we're wheel to wheel with.
For many drivers, you'd have to think, David, this could be their drop week because of some of the attrition today. With 8 estimated to go coming up, already down to the final 14 minutes. A lot of drivers who are championship contenders for AM especially have taken some huge hits today.
Vargas trying to get a little bit clever, trying to break the slipstream after Cascades in on the way into this big loop hairpin that's on the far end of the circuit. It's all matters to try to break that toe before this really long run in 6th gear. Must get pretty close to the limiter, if we're honest.
Absolutely. We've heard some of the rev limiters go off, mind you, with how big some of the slipstream has been for competitors. So it's not a surprise to hear that time and time again. You get that power up above 140 miles an hour here today.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of cars that have a peak speed trap speed of sort of 248 kilometers an hour. That's up and down the field. They're all at some point in this race have topped out round about there, and that's into a corner that they don't appear to brake for. They just sort of lift and throw it in, and also the slip angle scrubs quite a lot of speed through there.
It takes not just the preparation and the timing, but also you have to think the right equipment to do it. Because if you time up the steering wrong, guess what? You're low lifting going full near full throttle straight into a tire barrier.
Pro Battle beginning to close up, a 10th and a half from the Great A to close this up last time, and you see that gap sitting at 8 tenths at the moment. That's right where you start to get that slipstream, and you hope that closes you into 6 tenths one lap, 4 tenths the next. Turn 1, great line from Caleb Patry, as you see. Just pulls 2 tenths on his competitor through that one corner, through the braking and turning of turn 1. Big wiggle from the Great A.
It's starting to really fall back, absolutely. One of the better finishes for Negrete on the season. Big lockup for Smoke once against Chablis. There's the 66. Already now out of drafting distance as a result of some of the mistakes. There's Chablis, though, who is now the next car up for the 598. That's got to be a major concern if you're the 14 at this point, knowing how quickly Caleb is coming. After gaining time the past couple laps, Caleb seems to be on the pace.
This has got to be the part of the race where the tyre management is starting to pay a bit of dividends, because we saw drivers, slip sliding around here and there in qualifying, but many of them have now done starting the 23rd lap on the tyres. If you got them too hot, if you're still sliding and they're staying too hot, someone who just saved a little bit more might have something for you at this point.
Still separation is about 8 tenths of a second, and about 6 tenths, give or take. Campbell with a problem. Campbell's off the racetrack. Tyler Campbell has spun it. That's where the smoke puff comes from. Campbell has looped it from second. And now the battle is on for third.
Leo Lung from third is starting to catch him now. Lung's up in a second. Tyler Campbell's back here in the third. Tyres will be very hot. He's going to look weak to Shabley and Patry, who are thinking, maybe we can get around him. Here's the mistake. Lock up on the way in. Too much curb on the way out.
Maybe hit the grass as well. Just lucky to avoid contact. Nearly hitting a lap car, getting it looped around, and instead, we've seen how he was trying to stay focused in his car earlier. Campbell hoping to hold on for 5 more laps in the next 9 minutes.
Yeah, we saw a car get turtled on that exit curb there at the hairpin of the loop. So it wouldn't surprise me that if you're all loaded up, full throttle and you touch it, the car might just, bottom out, scrape on that and loop around like that. Much easier to do and be out there as well when you locked it up on the way in as you did.
7/10 separating each of the cars on the racetrack currently. Shabley trying to find a way to close up with the slipstream. So is Patry. Double toe possibly for the 598 here. How do you do this is the question. If you're Max, we've seen how big the draft has been, but the gap still being held on firmly by Campbell with mistakes building up behind him.
Campbell seems to have found his rhythm a little bit again, and I think what could have saved Shabley here is catching that slipstream of Campbell, but it's getting away. Patry's got the opportunity once again to try to hunt.
As Campbell starts to check out a little bit, the AM lead, guess what, is on again. Takeshi Kita, he sneakily has gained back up to the 93 within 5 car lengths with 4 to go.
Yeah, Kita's got a lot of pace here. Fastest lap is 3/10 quicker. A last lap is 3/10 quicker than what Puchtel's been able to do. So earlier in the race when they were nailing down the quicker times, Kita had him. And right now, the consistency seems to favour Kita as well. Just a bit more slide on the exit for Puchtel.
Extremely close amongst them. Keto now within 2 car lengths, trying to lock up the brakes for the Sen. 3.5 laps estimated to go, 7 minutes up on the clock. Already defensive swerving coming in. Puchtel holding on, Kita not close enough.
Kita got a really massive draft, 5 kilometers an hour faster, almost the whole way down that straight from before they got over the crest. So then Puchtel trying to hold on to that one and make a slightly defensive line, but the rear grip isn't there, and Kita's got the pressure on.
Kita's got the line. Kita tries it on the high side. Not gonna work. He hit the rev limiter, David, trying to build up that run. 3 to go.
Oh, there's going to be some good battles towards the end here because they're catching Tyler Campbell, Shabley and Patry, and then you've got this AM lead victory battle where it really looks like Kita's got the moves and got the grip and just trying to find an opportunity. There's only a couple laps left in this 28-lap race. It looks like we're going to get to laps rather than time. The end is closer than you might think.
Within 2.5 laps to go. Kita now has a great chance. Closest he's been now for the straightaway. Run up the hilltop. Kita trying to follow the swerving. Will he lift this time? No, he won't. Kita has a chance. Kita to the M lead. Gets it done easy.
Perfect move, right on time, wasn't intimidated, got that inside line, nose far enough ahead to claim it, but this is for the final step on the podium.
Third and pro, Campbell loses it, Campbell's in the grass, Campbell nearly spins it. There goes Shabley, there goes Patry, and there goes Campbell's top 3.
around the outside there. He was trying to aggressively cut back, but he wasn't able to manage it. Caught just too much of that grass and then able to keep it off the wall, but he doesn't look 100% pleased with that, because not only did he lose spots to Chablis and Patry that come through, Justin McGrady could close up on behind him there as well, now in the slipstream. Look at him with a lap and a half to go.
Coming up to the white flag this time around. See Patry not close enough to battle on Chablis yet, but might come down to the final lap. A kick up of the sand for the 14. No close up yet. Wagner, meanwhile, by the way, is down the front straightaway, taking the white flag from Barney.
And one more lap of Alton Park for your leaders. And one more lap for these guys when they come around the final corner and start that final lap.
Still a decent amount of time to battle it out for the next minute or so, but for Connor Wagner, what a dominating run. Since about 10 minutes into the race, Wagner has been able to check out nearly 10 seconds up the road to the next nearest car.
Great pole position. We saw everyone was, single file in the first 10 minutes or so, and he just managed to edge the other drivers away from his slipstream. Whoever it was in second, they just couldn't get enough draft to keep them stuck to him. He broke it, and then he was consistent enough to hold on to it.
Half a lap to complete. Down to the final quarter. Connor Wagner once more continues the march ahead. Points penalty last time out after his second victory on the trot. Now, for the third time this season, Connor Wagner gets it done cleanly. Final quarter run. Round 4 of the PRL F3 Series powered by VCO goes to Connor Wagner for the Pro Class.
It is not settled for third, fourth, or fifth just yet. It's a bit too late in the lap for some of the moves and the places you'd want to, but they drove each other hard to the end of the race.
Chablis holds on for third, Patry fourth, Campbell what could have been in fifth. But the AM class win? How about a charge from 21st overall to the top 8? Into the AM win, Takeshi Kita sneaks his way forward, cuts his way for the pack to win it at Alton Park.
Great run, great move we saw on Puchta late in the race. Very decisive.
And the attrition was huge in this one. 15 out of 32 starters take the checker flag here today. Here's a look at the pro finishers. Connor Wagner picking up the victory by 12 seconds at the stripe over Lurk. Then it was Chablis, Patry, and Campbell the top 5. Negretti finishing in 6th. Giordi quietly in 7th in the pro class. Kevin Sandiego, the only DNF in the pro class. Wagner, fastest lap amongst them. For the AM class, meanwhile, Takeshi Kita comes back from starting towards the mid to rear pack to come away with the victory by 1.8 seconds over Ryan Puchtel. Jonathan Alomar comes away with the top 3. Lucio Vargas from 32nd overall to 4th in AM. Joey Tebben rounds out the top 5. Tartar Schroll, what could have been after troubles on the opening lap after being one of the top qualifiers overall, finishing in 6th. Ross Cato, Frankie Arvello, the last finishers. Oliver Hartley, a DNF with Richard Swindell's 9th and 10th. 11th goes to Kevin Santana. Keep in mind, pro competitor, but also DNF regardless for him, 18th overall. Fernando Rodriguez, Blake Ziti, James Holland, Floyd Kerr, Nick McLaughlin, Michael Blaze, along with Guillaume Pavin with a ferocious incident. Colin Heffernan, Brian Lowe, the top 20. Stephen Ritters, Peter Newhook, James Carter, Brad Miller, all DNFing as well throughout the night. It was a night where the racetrack ate race cars for dinner. But in the end, some dominating performances. David, your thoughts on what we've seen here tonight?
Well, the F3 car, we know, very challenging to keep your speed up, keep your pace consistent, because it wants to slide, the tyres want to wear, and Alton Park is bumpy, narrow, no paved runoff, and that Armco was close and ready to bite at many an occasion, and you just can't get out of your mind that picture of Guillaume Potvin's cartwheels from the grass and the Armco. I mean, You had to time your moves so perfectly, and even by yourself hot lapping, the car wants to get away from you and wants to make you work.
Standing by now for post-race coverage, Tyler Campbell, the first amongst those. Tyler, you're in the race car, I believe, still right now after tonight. What happened in those final stages for you?
So, I maybe underfueled by half a liter, so it was a little bit of fuel saving going on, and that essentially threw off the rhythm of the corners, especially Shell Oils. Like, it's a great place to kind of coast in before you get there. But the problem with Shell Oils is with the camber that it has, when it comes off of that camber and onto that curb, it's like the car unloads and then wants to re-slide, essentially. And so I didn't carry enough speed into the corner, and so I got on the gas a little bit early, carried a little bit too much, and just kind of lost it there. After that, it was pretty much just, pushing, trying to get it back and continue to fuel save. I think I made it to turn 2 before I ran out after the line, after the checkered flag. So it was still pretty tight, but I knew I had the pace. The pace of the car was absolutely there. So yeah, it was just pushing a little bit too hard, trying to save fuel and push hard at the same time, and it just kind of threw me off. So don't save that half a liter of fuel. Just put it in the car. Good idea.
Still, though, solid points night as you drink the bottle of water here. Next time out, though, run through Europe continues. Heading towards the midway portion of the season, how would you describe that run now with a lot of European-based tracks coming up? Out of the next 4 races, 3 of them are based in Europe.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting because now I think we're starting to get. Oulton Park is pretty much where we've gotten with. We started to get into a lot of the European tracks that a lot of people have experience with. Red Bull Ring obviously released last year. Some tracks I have had some decent results at, some I hadn't. I'm not a fan of Spa, so I'm not expecting to do great there. It's going to be a lot of just staying consistent, as you saw. So, congrats to Max Shabley for getting 3rd, because he pretty much just stayed consistent that whole time. Feel like he maybe pushed me a little bit wide into turn 1, but all's fair in love and war because I put myself there. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's some interesting, again, I talk about setups a lot because I build setups, but there's some interesting stuff you can do with Phillip Island and Red Bull Ring with running a little bit less aerodynamics, and yeah, we'll just have to see. I don't have as much experience on some of these tracks, but I'm gonna put in the time and get it done.
Thank you very much for the time, Tyler.
Yep, thanks guys.
That's Tyler Campbell coming away with the top 5, even with the slipping and sliding in car number 37. He'll learn is now standing by. He's going to be with David Haynes.
Well, congratulations there on that result. Tough race. A lot of cars starting, not finishing. What is it about the F3 car and Alton Park that you think led to so many drivers dropping out?
Well, this track is, first of all, what a race this is. This track is, it requires a lot of attentions, and also you have to focus really much, because if you clip the grass, then you're gone. Basically, you'll be sent into the wall. And there's not much overtaking opportunities. It's quite a narrow track, so yeah, what a tough race. For me, it's just about surviving, basically, trying to hang on to the guys in front, look for mistakes, and mistakes happens. That's why so many people just got killed in the race.
And pretty cold track temperatures for qualifying and then into the race. Theoretically, that means more grip, but is there a chance it makes the car a little snappier or maybe harder to save? What would you prefer, just from a keep the car on the road perspective?
So for iRacing, the current tire model prefers colder temperature. So 19 degrees is kind of like a sweet spot for this track, for me, for the weekend. For this week. So yeah, it's definitely helped a lot in qualifying, because 19 degrees is pretty cool. Just a sweet spot for my setup as well. And later into the race, it raised up to like 22 degrees. And the car tends to get a little snappier, less grip in the exits and stuff. But yeah, it was a tough race, but it's fun.
Quite a solid chunk of the later race, presumably just checking the relative box, watching the gaps, and holding on to your third place. What goes through your mind then when you see Tyler Campbell off the road?
So I got really close to him before the pit stop, and then since it's really hard to follow, it's kind of dangerous because of the draft and the track is so narrow and a loss of downforce. So I back out a little bit after that. So after the pit stop, feels like Tyler was preserving his tires, or he started to struggle a little bit. So yeah, I just try to follow, try to not make any mistakes, and wait for him to make mistakes, which eventually happened. And I actually ran out of fuel in the last lap. It was pretty tight, but yeah, fortunately I made it to the finish line.
Well, 2 DNFs from round 2 and round 3, coming to this with a second place finish, picking up some spots a little bit later on and bringing your F3 car in one piece to the podium. I'm sure that delights you.
Absolutely. So this is my first season as a pro driver and my first podium as a pro driver, so really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm gonna get some champagne tonight.
Wow, exciting. Enjoy that. Anyone else you're going to shout out while you've got you?
I would like to thank my teammate. So we practiced together, found a really great setup. Brian Lowe, my teammate. Unfortunately, he has some accidents early into the race, which cost him the race pretty much. So, but big shout out to him for practicing together and pushing me. I push him, he pushed me to this position. So really thank him a lot.
And you'll jump up the standings a bit with this result. Congrats and best of luck remainder of the season. Some more high-speed slipstreaming tracks coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, thank you. Really appreciate it.
That's Leon finishing inside the top 3 tonight. Well, standing by with this one, Max Shabley. Max Shabley third on the podium. Not too shabby for you tonight, Max. How are you feeling after the podium?
I'm feeling great, guys. Can you hear me okay?
A little bit of bounce back, but yes.
Awesome.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling great. It was a tough race. Towards the end, I was losing a little bit of my grip. But yeah, overall, it was challenging. You know, the start was a little bit tricky. I lost a couple of spots, but I knew I had pace on a couple of guys in front of me, so I just wanted to be consistent. I saw that they kept getting off tracks, so I played the long game. I knew they would probably get the pit stop penalty, so yeah, just sort of tried to put some pressure on them and not make any crazy moves.
Of course, it's been an intriguing start to the season for you coming into tonight. 23 points scored in round 2, but 2 DNFs. It's been, how would you describe the feeling of being able to get your best run of the season here tonight after what's been a rocky start for you and some of your teammates?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Atomic as a whole, we kind of had a rough start. Like you said, the first race was sort of a nightmare. But yeah, we started improving. Yeah, I did have 2 DNFs. One was sort of my fault. Another one, I just got taken out. And it's been definitely rough and a little bit challenging, you know, mentally. But yeah, we train a lot. And, you know, I feel like the team is starting to get back on track. So it feels great. Yeah, definitely. Gonna keep and try the momentum going.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Max. We'll let you get going.
Absolutely, thanks. And I want to thank everybody, all of my teammates at Atomic Racing and Robert Ridgway for his amazing setup this week. Thanks, guys.
That's Max Shabley coming away with the top 3 tonight. Also standing on by is someone from our RaceSpot commentary grouping. Joey Tebben is standing by. He gets to catch up with David.
Well, it was pretty fiercely competitive all race in that AM category there, Joey. How'd you see it from your position?
Well, on lap 1, I was committed to being extra careful. I just wanted to survive lap 1. I knew there was going to be a lot of drama. Evidently, I was a little bit too careful, and some of the other guys were little bit too aggressive, and I got a couple of incident points. I think I was all the way up to 8x by the end of lap 2 with contact that didn't really affect me, but affected some drivers behind me. So I was kind of on the back foot from there. I was driving a little bit carefully, trying to not go over the incident limit. Then eventually I did go over the incident limit. Then I missed my pit stall because I didn't practice pit entry, but luckily because of the attrition, I still got a P5 out of it. But I got to be honest, this is probably the worst I've ever driven to a P5, but you got to stay in the race to get the results, and I guess I've proven that you can never give up.
Let's rewind with the incident points and the track limits, etc., all the way back to qualifying. I mean, plenty of time in the qualifying session, but it looked like from the timing screen, a lot of drivers were struggling to complete their laps or struggling with the track limits. Did you find that too?
Yeah, this place is really bad for track limits. It is terrible, it's oppressive, it's frustrating, it's infuriating, especially in turns 1 and turn 3. At turn 1, you really want to use that like concrete sod stuff that's at all these Motorsport Vision tracks, but if you go out there, you get a 1x, you put one wheel over the white line in turn 3, and you get an incident point as well, and the lap's invalidated, and in the race, and in qualifying, it's just extremely frustrating, and I hope iRacing is able to do something about it. They've done good work on incident limit stuff on other tracks, but Oulton Park is still in the past, unfortunately.
It's free track now, so gift horses and their mouths, etc. But there are a couple other drivers in your class making some huge moves through the field. The winner Takashi Kita, 13 spots gained on the grid. Lucio Vargas plus 21, and he could have had more there as well. How'd you see the others around you go in that race?
Well, Lucio, for one, I'm mystified by how he got by me, because I didn't see him behind me. I thought I was ahead of Swindells, and I came out of the pits still ahead of him, and then out of nowhere, Lucio Vargas passed me. I was fighting with John Almanar, but when I came into the box, I lost probably the entirety of that gap trying to back up and get back in my box. So I lost him, then Vargas got by me, then I got the penalty for the 13 incident points, and then that lost me about 30 more seconds, but like I said, it was just such a race of attrition that somehow I still hung on to a top 5, and I was the last car in the lead lap too, so I had a little bit of fun with that, and I crossed the line at 2 miles per hour, because when else am I going to get to do that?
Fantastic. Next week, you're at the Red Bull Ring, and no one ever talks about track limits at the Red Bull Ring, so what do you think there? You're going to be safe?
Well, I've had a lot of good races at the Red Bull Ring in the past. I've had good races at Oulton Park and other leagues in the past, and I was really confident coming into this, but the Red Bull Ring, I remember the first season I ever did in this league. I drove from the back to the top 5, but the competition is very, very high, so again, it's going to be a tough race. It's the toughest the competition has ever been in this league, but I'm happy to finally actually get some points on the board this week. I was at 0 after week 3, and hopefully the streak continues next week.
Well, the top 5 now, the world's your oyster after this. Go well going forward.
Thank you, David.
That's Joey Tabbett rounding out your post-race interviews here tonight. I'd like to thank him along with the rest of those taking the time to speak with us here tonight here at Alton Park Circuit. Well, tonight was fun, but as talked about, we're heading towards the midway portion of the season. It's the Red Bull Ring up next, and that will take place July the 21st, 9:10 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be able to tame that bull here at the Red Bull Ring. Find out next time out for the PRL's F3 Series, powered by VCO. On that note, it's time to say goodbye. We'd like to congratulate your race winners tonight, Connor Wagner, Takeshi Kita, your victors here at Alton Park Circuit. For David Haynes, for Hugo Louise, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching PRL's F3 Series, powered by VCO.